AEW Dynamite this Wednesday, February 24th, 8 p.m. on TNT. And how about this? A qualifier for the Face the Revolution ladder match will feature Rey Fenix against this man, the Murderhawk Monster, Lance Archer. It's going to be such a cool event, and it's leading up to Revolution, where we'll get to see this, and then the winner of that during Revolution on March 7th on pay-per-view, the winner will get an AEW TNT Championship match. You already have Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky, Penta is in this. We'll see Lance Archer can join that crew. And then 2 other TBAs. There'll be qualifier matches on Dynamite. So, Lance, thank you so much. Hey, tell us about this big showdown against Rey Fenix on AEW Dynamite on TNT on Wednesday.
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be a really, and I can't say really enough, cool experience, I think, for everybody and anybody that's going to tune in on Wednesday night, because you're going to see one of the absolute best light heavyweights, cruiserweights, whatever you want to call them, in the world. He matches up to anybody and everybody that's ever stepped in the ring before. He dons the lucha mask and he makes every luchador proud. I think he is Rey Fenix. And then you've got one of the best, most massive, mean SOBs, me, the Murderhawk Monster, is going to step in the ring and introduce a savagery to that luchador in a way that I don't think he's ever experienced before. So I think that combination of those two styles is going to make for a very fun interaction when everybody's tuning in on Wednesday night. And it's one of those crazy things, like you said. You mentioned the 3 guys that are already in there. Tony has mentioned that the 3 of the first that signed contracts with the company, and that's why they're in the match already, and they're not having qualifying. That's fine. That's cool. I get that. That's whatever. And Ray and I have been teaming as of late. We're a good team. It's kind of because we need it. We're a good team, but we're a good team. But this is about a fight. 2 warriors going in the ring. We're going to kick each other's ass, and you know what? In the end, my plan is to put the Phoenix down, and the Murderhawk Monster is going to stand strong, baby.
It's interesting, Lance, because you mentioned tag teaming. Do you think from a wrestling perspective and where this might go, are you thinking, hey, we're going to be able to do this fight but still tag team, or who knows?
Yeah, that's one of the things about this business. Obviously he teams with his brother a lot, Penta, who's already in the match. So for some insane reason, he was able to beat me and go on to be in that match. Now he's facing his own brother for a chance at the TNT title. But, again, I think they're more close because, blood thicker than water type scenario. We've just kind of been thrown together in a few tag matches. So you never know what could happen. But, again, we go in there and we smack each other around enough. I don't know if we want to step in the ring as partners ever again. But then again, it's pro wrestling. That's what makes it fun. Everything changes on a dime. A lot of people are always trying to make sense of things. Like I said, the sense that makes for this is it's 2 fighters being given an opportunity to go into a pay-per-view match to ultimately get a chance at the TNT title. So, when people are complaining and asking, well, why are these 2 guys fighting each other? They've just been tag teaming. Guess what? We're fighters. We're warriors. We're going to go in there and fight each other so we can get to the pay-per-view and so we can ultimately become TNT champion.
Hey, guys that train against women, too, train with each other, have fought against each other, whether you're talking pro wrestling, MMA, any combat sport. So stop those complainers. Stop those complainers, Lance Archer. It's interesting. You mentioned the contrast, and it is. But both of you are really good at working with different styles of wrestler, different heights and weights of wrestler. How do you feel with that? Here you have the Monster's big guy who can move around against this guy who can bring it, but he's flying all over the place too.
Right. I think some of my best matches in my career have been against guys who are traditionally, cruiserweights or light heavyweights or whatever you want to call them. I've had some amazing matches in the past, whether it was at TNA or whether it was in New Japan with AJ Styles. One of the more prominent matches that I've had in my career that people saw and kind of catapulted my opportunity with AEW was a match I had against a guy named Will Ospreay in the G1 tournament that started in Dallas, Texas in July of 2019, and it was broadcast on Access TV. It was one of the first times that a lot of the American audience had seen me work, and they were working with a guy now that I'm stepping in the ring across from Rey Fenix, who matches up, if not excels past both of those guys in just some of the amazing things that he can do, the way he flies around the ring, the way he can walk and balance on those ropes and things that, only Rey Fenix can do. You get that combination of me and the power and the intensity and the savagery that I'm going to bring with the Murderhawk Monster. And then, I'm not so left-footed myself. I've walked the ropes and done moonsaults and somersaults off the aprons and flown over the top rope, and I've done my own fair share of crazy flying myself for a guy who's 6'8", 275, 280 pounds. So, I think the fun, cool combination, again, that this is going to present on Wednesday night is something you're probably not going to see anywhere else on TV right now.
That match is going to be this Wednesday, February 24th on AEW Dynamite on TNT, 8 p.m. It'll be an incredible match, incredible show. You mentioned crazy. Now, the winner will be in a ladder match. What are your thoughts of a ladder match?
I'm excited about it. I've literally, in my career, in 20 and a half years, I've only been in one ladder match. So this will be my second ladder match ever. First they're going to have to find a ladder that's actually taller than I am, because otherwise I'm just going to stand there and grab whatever we're grabbing. But, for me, I think it's fun. You've got a very cool combination of guys that are already in the match, the possibilities of who might end up being in the match, to finish out the six. I think it's really cool. Obviously, I'm going to, just recently in that tag match with Moxley and I against Penta and Kenny Omega, I donned my own ladder, took out a couple guys, used it as a weapon, and, that can happen again in this ladder match. And there's 5 other opponents that I can whack really hard in the head with that ladder. I'm not opposed to doing so. So, I think it's a lot of fun to see what's going to happen and see when guys start climbing that ladder and coming off the corners and again, using that ladder as a weapon. I think it's one of the more unique matches that's going to happen. It's not over convoluted with too many guys. There's only going to be 6 guys in that match. We're all fighting for the same shot, to get to that TNT Championship. Obviously, guys like Cody, who have already been that champion, myself fought Cody for the initial TNT Championship. So this is kind of like, if I can get back into this match, this is my opportunity to get back to that TNT title. So I think, man, I'm excited. I'm excited about the possibilities. But first, I got to put down the Phoenix.
He is the Murderhawk Monster, and he can use a ladder, but he doesn't need one. Lance, give us the short story on getting the name the Murderhawk Monster. Where did that come from? It is one of the cooler names out there.
I think it took a little while for people to think it was cool, because I think the first time you hear it, you're like, what the heck, the Murderhawk? It's a mythical creature that only exists in my world. I think it was kind of an idea that kind of came about. It's morphed into its own entity, that being the Murderhawk and things like that. I think initially, when I was, again, I go back to that G1 match against Will Ospreay, and I changed my entire look from what I've been using or looking like in my time in New Japan. And I donned this big, crazy, pooped up mohawk, and as it went on and I started braiding it, it kind of took on the whole name of Murderhawk. Instead of a mohawk, a Murderhawk. And I think my style is very monstrous, very brutal, very savage, and so that's why I called myself the Murderhawk Monster. And I think, like I said, it's kind of taken on its own entity. It started out kind of an ode to the hairstyle. Now it's just kind of become its own thing, the Murderhawk Monster. That mythical creature you don't want to get in front of.
The process is always amazing with how you all get to where you get. Growing, maturing as a pro wrestler, was New Japan Pro Wrestling a turning point for you? It's
one of the things I absolutely believe so. I spent 8.5 years there. I gained a confidence while I was there that I had not had in my time in the business. I spent 5 years with TNA from 2004 to 2009, a cup of coffee at WWE from 2009 to late 2010. My contract signed out in early 2011. But at none of those places did I think I had the confidence that I needed to have, knowing the personality and the character and the style that I needed to present in the ring. And what New Japan and the guys there did for me, I've said this before in interviews, they're like, what did New Japan do for you? And I'm like, man, the one thing that more monster. I'm going to be more big, more scary. And things morphed and things changed, and I got to experiment with my own personality and how I wrestled and things like that. And I think it helped me create a confidence in who I should have always been in the business. And now I know. I mean, I'm still learning. I'm still morphing. I'm still adapting to 2021 wrestling. I'm back in the U.S. market. I'm on AEW, which has some of the most amazing wrestlers and athletes that this business has ever seen. So if I don't adapt, then I'll die. And like I say, everybody dies, but I just have to be last. So I have to adapt to a whole new style. So I have to take that confidence that I gained while working in Japan and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and now change it into a whole new game at All Elite Wrestling, AEW, and give the people something they've never seen before in a super heavyweight.
And you mentioned AEW's roster and the show AEW Dynamite. It has really caught on, and it's still very young. We're still very young in the process.
Oh, yeah.
I always am interested when you're watching and you're studying, you're learning, and you all, the men and women wrestlers, continue to do that. And all of a sudden, here you are, Lance, in AEW, and then next to you is this man, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Right.
What has that been like? What have you learned from him? And just being a part of bonding together for this?
Jake's great, and Jake's great in many different ways. And I've known Jake for a long time, so I've seen Jake in some of his more down times in his life, fortunately. So what's been the greatest, I think, for me in this time with Jake at AEW is seeing the sober, positive, excited to be around wrestling again, Jake Snake Roberts. His wealth of knowledge that he carries from his time in the business, one of the greatest to ever step in the ring, is invaluable to myself and the entire roster. I know a lot of the young guys approach him and ask him questions and thoughts and whatnot. And, he's got a very old school mentality, which I think is a good thing for the young generation to tap into so that they can kind of figure out themselves. It's 2021 wrestling. We're not wrestling like Jake and those guys did back in the 80s and 90s and things like that. But what they can bring as far as understanding of character and personality and pacing and timing and those things, making moments mean something, I think is a big attribute to anybody on the roster, including myself. I've had front row access to that this entire time. And the biggest help that Jake has helped me with is promos, working on my ability to grab a microphone and speak and make it actually mean something, without actually yelling and screaming and just being a rah monster all the time. The character and personality when I've stepped in the ring and fighting is very chaotic, but like any time that I've had a chance to grab the microphone and speak, it's one of those things where I changed that dynamic to be more calm and cool and a little bit of evil and a little bit of that sneaky snake that is Jake Snake Roberts, and deliver my message again in a way that I think is a unique way for the Murderhawk Monster that is Lance Archer, and that comes almost directly from the knowledge that I've gained from Jake the Snake Roberts. And like I said, a lot of our roster is taking advantage of that. We have guys like Jake the Snake Roberts there. We have guys like Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, Billy Gunn. I mean, the list goes on. Jerry Lynn, so many guys in the back, and I'm not naming a few, but I'm sure there's more. That the knowledge that they have and the ability to help this next generation take 2021 wrestling and add a little old school flavor and mentality to it, I think is what can truly, truly set AEW apart and make it something special.
Well, you're a Murderhawk, but you were an Eagle. And I'm wondering, and I hope I say the place right, I hope I say it right, are you the most famous person from Hearne High School?
I would say the most famous recently. We do have an NFL Hall of Famer, John Randall, who plays for the Minnesota Vikings, and him and his brother, Irvin Randall, were both NFL All-Stars. Irvin, his older brother, didn't do as much, but John, like I said, was an NFL Hall of Famer. So I would have to say that John beats me out on as far as the most famous person out of Hearne, Texas. But as far as recently, yes, it's got to be me, I guess. It's not a very big town, so.
Well, you got to make the Mount Rushmore. I'll tell you that. John Randall, Hall of Famer. You're right. Defensive tackle, Minnesota Vikings. Very excellent player. But Lance, I put you right up there.
Thanks.
A little bit of football talk. I'm really curious about this. I'm in South Florida. South Florida and Florida are huge for high school football. But I know Texas is huge for high school football, especially those Friday Night Lights attended games. You were a quarterback, a star quarterback for your high school. And I just wonder, what was that experience like? Was there a lot of attention on you? You ended up playing college football, got your college degree, I believe in English, which is awesome. But what was it like playing Texas football and the star magnitude of it, even for a high school player?
I appreciate you calling me a star player in high school. For my school, football was big because it's Texas, but our football program was not very good. I didn't start until my senior year. I worked very hard to get to that point in that position. Shined a bit for what we could do. We weren't a very good team. I think we were 3-7 my senior year. That was it. You mentioned that I played college ball. I was on 2 different college teams. I didn't play a whole lot. I had big dreams and big aspirations to play ball, but it never really panned out once I left my high school. So, it was a lot of fun. My senior year, it did draw a lot of attention because I played basketball and baseball. I think from my time playing football, I drove more attention to those sports because I was out there. But to say that I was a star or that our team was any good is a far-fetched time. So it was a lot of fun. I can't take anything away from that. It was my dream to play ball, but it just didn't work out.
Dallas Cowboys fan and favorite football player?
Not a Dallas Cowboys fan. San Diego, now the Los Angeles Chargers. God rest his soul, Junior Seau is probably one of the baddest linebackers to ever step on the field. So, that would probably be that guy.
And you played quarterback. Did you ever play defense?
I did. Well, in my high school, everybody was, again, small team. Everybody had a defensive role, but I did not play much. I was a safety. They put me as far away from everything as they possibly could.
So you didn't ask Tony Khan if you could have a tryout with the Jacksonville Jaguars now that you're with AEW?
Maybe I'll be on the practice squad or something.
You can do 2-sport athlete, pro wrestling and football. That is awesome. All right, we're going to wrap this up. I saw a photo on Instagram. I thought it was very cool. And it was you and I guess your dog. And I'm wondering what kind of dog and what's your dog's name?
Well, I have 3. I think the one that had the most pictures posted more recently is Buster Boy. He's a little, we think he's a Labrador weenie dog mix, so we call him a Labweenie.
And also, this is interesting. Shaq is getting involved with AEW for a match. And just what are your thoughts of Shaq? You mentioned you played 3 sports. And Shaq was an incredible basketball player. He stepped in the ring, but this is going to be a match. What does it mean to AEW to have someone like Shaq involved?
I think it's one of those really cool experiences for the company as a whole because he is a huge wrestling fan. He's not just some celebrity that we're throwing out there that we're hoping to get some attention from. He is a wrestling fan. He was actually at the last pay-per-view, and I got to sit in the room with him and speak to him for a little while, kind of on a one-on-one basis. And a small connection between he and I is when he was a senior in high school out in Texas, his team beat my home team, Hearne High School, in the playoffs, the Texas high school basketball playoffs. I think it was so that they could go to the state championship, or it was the state championship. I don't remember specifically, but him and his team beat my high school team. So once we made that connection, he was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I know Hearne." And we chit-chatted and we talked wrestling, and it was real cool. His excitement about the business and AEW and just wrestling in general was really cool. So I think he's ready to go out there and deliver. Like I said, I don't think it's just a situation where a celebrity is kind of like, "Hey, we're going to pay you a lot of money to come pretend to wrestle." He really wants to get out there and compete. So I think the cool experience that everybody's going to get to see on the 3rd is something that's going to be certainly unique. On a side note, I got to take a picture with him, and he was so tall that I now know what most people feel like when they take pictures with me. So that was pretty interesting.
Well, there you go. And we're finish this off, Lance, but I'll say this. Lance Archer, the Murderhawk Monster, against Shaq to avenge that for Hearne High School. You can book it. Hey, Lance, thank you so much. Hey, AEW Dynamite this Wednesday, February 24th on TNT, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. See the Murderhawk Monster against Rey Fenix in this big qualifier match. It's going to be awesome. Thank you so much, Lance.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me on this one.